When families think about moving to Spain, your mind probably jumps straight to those sunny beaches, right? Bustling expat communities, that classic Mediterranean lifestyle. But today, we're diving into an explainer on a relocation destination that completely shatters that typical Spanish mold. We're heading in the exact opposite direction, up to the far northwest corner. Welcome to Galicia. Forget the flamenco and the endless dry heat. We're talking lush green forests, dramatic mists rolling off the Atlantic, literal bagpipes playing in the plazas, and these deep Celtic roots. It's green, it's rugged, and man, it requires a totally different mindset. If you've been dreaming of a Spanish relocation but the usual expat hotspots feel a bit too crowded or commercialized for you, this just might be the hidden gem you've been looking for.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the Galician alternative. Then, we'll weigh the pros, cons, and lifestyle. After that, we'll pinpoint the best areas for families, dig into the hard logistics of schools and costs, and finally, figure out if Galicia is actually the right fit for you.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the Galician alternative, moving way beyond that expat bubble.
You know, most families looking at Spain naturally default to the sunny south, but a growing number are actually heading northwest to escape those heavily commercialized areas. They're chasing a deeply authentic, immersive environment instead. Think about it. Places like Malaga or the Costa del Sol have this massive, ready-made expat infrastructure. You can easily get by just speaking English there. But Galicia, tucked right above Portugal, yeah, it throws all of that right out the window. What you get instead is this dramatic, untouched coastline, ancient inland villages, and a climate that's definitely cooler and wetter. But the real kicker here is the purely local experience. You are not joining a prepackaged expat bubble. When you step out your front door, you're stepping into a traditional Spanish and Galician-speaking community. Your local baker, the postman, your neighbors, they expect to engage with you in their language, which is honestly a totally different vibe.
Moving right along to Section 2, pros, cons, and lifestyle. It's time to weigh the scales.
Now, the trade-offs you'll face every single day in Galicia are pretty stark, but for the right family, they are incredibly rewarding. Let's look at the advantages first, because they are just phenomenal. You're looking at a drastically lower cost of living, breathtakingly safe natural surroundings from deep forests to the sea, and seriously, some of the absolute best, freshest seafood you will ever taste in your entire life. But we have to talk about the flip side. You are absolutely going to need to invest in a really high-quality raincoat, because the weather here is no joke. Plus, international schools, they're few and far between. And since there isn't a massive international tourist or expat presence, your chances of snagging a local job without fluent Spanish and Galician are incredibly slim. Basically, you are trading the easy convenience of English for unparalleled safety, affordability, and nature.
It all boils down to this. Galicia suits families looking for authenticity and affordability, not convenience. If you need everything catered to your native language and familiar customs, you're going to hit a wall of frustration pretty quickly here. Bureaucracy in a foreign country is already tough, right? But navigating local government offices, healthcare, and utilities in a second or even third language, that takes real patience and a thick skin. You are integrating into their world, not the other way around. But hey, if you value rich culture, real community integration, and a wonderfully low cost of living, the extra effort you put in completely pays off.
Just imagine trading overcrowded tourist beaches for peaceful weekend walks along a rugged, completely empty coastline. If you're craving a slower, outdoor-focused, traditional lifestyle where your family actually integrates with the locals, this environment is an absolute dream. Daily life in Galicia is wonderfully unhurried. It's so community-focused. Families here actually spend their weekends together, exploring the green countryside, checking out local festivals, and sharing these massive, incredible meals. It's a place where traditional family values are really the bedrock of society. It's incredibly safe, stable, and deeply rooted in local customs. It doesn't feel like a permanent vacation. It feels like a real, grounded home.
Okay, let's dive into Section 3, best areas for families. Where should you actually settle?
First up is A Coruña. It's incredibly manageable and gives you the most international connections without ever feeling overwhelming. For a lot of families making this leap, this beautiful coastal city is the perfect soft landing. You get stunning ocean views right from the city center, really solid infrastructure, and access to a reasonable range of schooling options. Plus, having a good local airport means trips back home to visit family or having them come to you are way easier to coordinate, all while keeping that unique Galician charm.
Then you have Vigo, which is essentially the absolute economic engine of the region. If one or both adults need a local job rather than bringing remote work with them, Vigo's stronger economy makes it by far the smartest choice. It's driven by a bustling port and a massive automotive industry, which creates a much more dynamic, fast-paced economic environment. You still get that beautiful coastal setting the families love, but with the added bonus of far more practical employment opportunities, extensive business amenities, and just a slightly more metropolitan energy.
Next is Santiago de Compostela, offering an incredible mix of quiet urban practicality and really deep cultural richness. It's a smaller university city, but man, it punches way above its weight culturally. Thanks to the famous university and the hundreds of thousands of pilgrims finishing the Camino de Santiago here every single year, the city has this magical, surprisingly international flair layered right over a deeply traditional Galician town. Just walking through the historic streets feels alive. It's highly recommended for families looking for excellent local education options mixed with a vibrant, historic atmosphere.
Now imagine a city built entirely for children. That is Pontevedra. Decades ago, this city was radically redesigned to prioritize kids and pedestrians over cars. Imagine living in a place where your children can walk or bike to school, head to the park, or visit their friends' houses with total freedom and absolute safety. No more constantly worrying about traffic. It has actually become internationally famous for this pioneering urban planning model. It's affordable, exceptionally livable, and just an absolute magnet for families who value unparalleled day-to-day quality of life over big city convenience.
And finally, there's rural Galicia. Moving out into the countryside will stretch your budget further than you can possibly imagine, but rural living here demands a really clear-eyed approach. It is breathtakingly beautiful, yet undeniably demanding. The rail network out here, it's not those high-speed bullet trains zooming across central Spain. Buses are functional but sparse. Distances are very real, and owning a car isn't just an option, it is an absolute lifeline for groceries, school runs, and emergencies. You are essentially trading every ounce of convenience for space and pristine nature. If you're actively seeking a rural, self-sufficient lifestyle, it's perfect. But if you just want to save a few euros on rent, the genuine isolation compared to the cities might really catch you off guard.
All right, moving on to Section 4, Schools and Cost. Let's look at the hard logistics. Because fully international schools are pretty scarce, a lot of expat parents end up relying on concertado schools. Look, unlike the Costa del Sol, you can't just arrive in Galicia and expect half a dozen English-speaking curriculum schools waiting to take your kids. There are a few in A Coruña and Vigo, sure, but they are limited. Instead, these semi-private, partially state-funded concertado schools provide a fantastic middle ground. They frequently offer bilingual programs that really help ease the transition, and they do it without the astronomical price tag of a fully private international school down south. We're talking about saving thousands of euros a year. But here's the thing. The language factor is the single biggest hurdle your family will face. The state schools are free and excellent, but the instruction is in Spanish and, very frequently, in Galician. Now, young kids, they tend to soak this up like sponges. But for older teenagers, being dropped into a dual-language environment where English is rarely spoken and having to learn chemistry or history in a language they don't know, that is genuinely difficult. You really have to take this seriously. This reality means your family's choice of exactly where to live will be almost entirely dictated by which specific school you can secure for your kids beforehand. Now, take a breath and think about the lifestyle we just described. The incredible safety, the pristine nature, the world-class food. Then consider this number, 2,600 to 3,000 euros. That number represents the typical total monthly cost of living for a family of 4. And yes, that includes rent. It makes it one of Spain's most affordable regions. For less than 3,000 euros a month, a family of 4 can live incredibly well here, without sacrificing quality of life. And if you happen to own your home outright, that monthly number drops down closer to 2,000 euros. It's wild. Let's walk through exactly where that budget goes, because it shows just how far your money stretches here compared to cities like Barcelona or Madrid. A standard 3-bedroom property will only run you between 500 and 1,000 euros, depending on the neighborhood. Utilities sit comfortably between 120 to 170 euros. Fast internet, around 30. And groceries, which remember includes access to some of the highest quality local produce and fresh Atlantic seafood in Europe, max out around 650 euros a month for a family of 4. It's almost unbelievable value for money.
But of course, there's a catch. You get immense value for your space, but local salaries are noticeably lower. If you plan to move here and look for local work, you'll likely earn a locally adjusted salary, which kind of offsets that cheap rent. So you have to ask yourself, are you bringing your own job with you? Because if you're a remote worker earning an international salary, a digital nomad, or arriving with a foreign pension, Galicia is essentially a life hack. Your purchasing power here with an outside income is going to be incredibly strong.
Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5,
Is Galicia for you? Making the final decision.
Getting this wrong is expensive and incredibly disruptive to your kids, so you really must honestly assess if you want real integration or if you just want convenience. If you want a quiet life in nature, if you value community, and if you are genuinely excited about the challenge of learning Spanish and Galician, you and your kids will absolutely thrive here. But if you secretly just want the convenience of back home but with cheaper rent, if you need a ton of international school options, a large safety net of fellow expats, and English language convenience, honestly, Galicia is going to feel very difficult very fast.
So, we have to ask, does Galicia actually fit your family's specific situation, language skills, and long-term plans? The question isn't whether Galicia is an incredible place to live. It undeniably is. But Galicia isn't going to roll out an English-speaking red carpet for you. It demands effort, adaptation, and a very sturdy umbrella. But for those willing to make the leap, leaving behind the expat bubble for the unmatched authenticity of the Spanish Northwest, could it be the most rewarding adventure your family ever takes?